Hi, everybody. This is my first attempt at a captive ring type project. Called a Wedding Goblet. It has two captive rings, and making this for my son's friends down in Florida. Just recently got married, so I'll just I'll chime in when I think I need to tell you what I'm doing and what's going on. Other than that, hope you enjoy it. Starting out here, getting it rounded with the bowl gouge. I also use a homemade tool that I made a while back. Carbide cutter, the round one. This is simply made out of, as I said in the beginning there, as it said in the beginning, simply made out of some scrap pieces of southern yellow pine that I glued up. Just getting ready to part off the end of this thing and get it down to length. It's actually a pretty big goblet. It stands about 9 inches tall, about 4.5 inches wide when it's finished, so it's a fairly large one. Here I'm just starting to drill out some material with my Forstner bits, starting with a small one and working up to a larger one to get some of the material out of the inside of it. I just started wood turning again, maybe about 4 or 5 months ago after many years of not doing it, almost 40 years. Um, Things have changed since I had a lathe years ago, and tools have changed and all that. So anyone watching this that has experience, just feel free to chime in the comments section of the video and let me know what you think, and any any critiques, good, bad, or indifferent, are more than welcome. One of the things I'm finding is I feel more comfortable with a parting tool than I do with the bowl gouge, for some reason, especially going into the end, hogging out the inside of a goblet or a vase. Also, if you haven't, I'd appreciate you hit that subscribe and give me a thumbs up if you would. Help my little channel to grow here. I'm retired Air Force. I'm not looking to make a living at doing this, but if I can build up my channel and get more content out there, and maybe make a few pennies to buy tools and wood and stuff, that'd be great. But I really do it for the enjoyment. As I said, I'm retired Air Force, and my wife and I both fully retired. Other than our camping and hiking excursions, I pretty much stay in my workshop or work around the yard. So I'll be quiet for a little bit and wait until we get this thing shaped and then start on the captive rings. Obviously just working here to get the stem. I'll get the stem down to size, I should say. Coming up in just a few seconds here, I'll be starting to try to form the captive rings and really cut them. Again, just kind of getting these rings formed around that stem where I want to cut them off and getting the material moved out of the way so that I can eventually get those cut off. Trying to get everything formed before I actually separate them from the stem. A little difficult to form them and sand them when they're still on there. I did do some sanding that I didn't video on these rings. Sanding is pretty boring. I'm just using a little tool I made here. It's out of a round file, the hook on it, just to cut that ring off. See here in a minute how I got the material out of there and then separated it. And just like that. That one come out good. I was happy with that. I didn't video the second ring. It's basically just the same thing as the first. So I've got them both separated now. As you can see, they're kind of warbling around in there. Just trying to get the stem shaped up a little bit and get the actual goblet part of it, the top. You can see this wood is kind of sketchy and punky. Not really punky. It's not soft, but it's it's lumber. It's not really the best wood to turn, but didn't require a lot of sanding, of which I only filmed a short sequence. Obviously, sanding is pretty boring. Okay, I'm just taping these rings up to keep them up one end, and I'll start the sanding process. Excuse me, I'll finish the top half of the stem before I start sanding. Get the other end done. And just finishing up on the base. Some of the little finer details cleaned up. And sanding we go. And again, I didn't film a lot of the sanding of it. It's basically the same thing. I did start out with 60 grit, and I sanded up to 400 grit. Now I just put a little denatured alcohol on it to pull that grain up, clean it off, and I followed it up with some Axe products. Axe is ACKS is a great product. I'm not sponsored by them or anything like that, but I used the abrasive paste and then the polishing paste to put a finish on it. It turned out very well. Obviously, the rings were a little difficult to do, and I stopped the lathe and kind of did those by hand. But again, it's you really have to film that. So anyway, there it is right there. I got some stills coming up. I surely appreciate you watching. Again, if you feel inclined to do so, I'd appreciate you subscribe and give me a thumbs up. And I look forward to making more projects to show you on YouTube. Thanks again.